In the half-light of the kitchen corner, I stand right in front of the coffee machine, as if it's about to decide something for me. Steam hisses, and my glasses fog immediately. For a moment, I can't see anything at all, and it's almost funny in a flat way. I wipe the lens with my sleeve, and the fabric turns damp and sticky. There's that clean, soapy disinfectant smell, the kind that makes a kitchen feel like a clinic, only without the promise of sleep. I press the button. Coffee comes out in a thin, patient thread. The sound is steady and familiar, like the only thing in the room that still happens without error. It smells like coffee, strong and dark, like something that's supposed to help. But the warmth doesn't make its way back into me. It feels like it gets stuck along the route, caught in my shoulders, behind my ribs, in the places where habit usually sits and says it will hold on. My eyelids are heavy, like soaked cardboard. My fingers tremble a little, not from effort, just from cold. For a second, I grip the metal handle of the fridge, not because I need it, but because the cold is definite. It tells me I'm still here, solid, not blurred. The fluorescent lights hum. They never shout, but they're always present, right under the skin. Somewhere in the distance, a phone rings, someone else's phone, not mine, and it still lands like a prick. The world doesn't switch off just because I want it to. My own phone is on too. Its screen glows in the dark like a small insistence. A message from a colleague asks, "Ready for the update?" I force the smallest smile, more out of muscle memory than feeling, as if my face remembers the shape. But the expression doesn't really arrive. It's clear in an odd way, like the smile happened inside and didn't reach the surface. And in that moment, I realize coffee is just liquid, warm, bitter, that's all. I take the cup, I take a step, and then another. I walk back into the shared room. There are voices, many voices, and they sound a little like echoes, like people talking to the walls, and the walls talking back. Someone laughs. Someone's tone is brisk and professional, the right cadence for work. I enter, like I'm stepping into an aquarium, where everything is visible, but the air feels different, and you have to breathe in a way that won't draw attention. And that's where the slow slide begins. Not sudden, not dramatic, just gradual, almost polite. Because I think, what if this is what I've become? What if this is me now, a person living on just short of enough? A person who always feels like they've been traveling even when they never left. When someone writes, "ready," why don't I feel any inner rise toward it? Only the formal response lifts, like a stamp on paper. Yes, sure, ready. Where else am I going to go? My mind reaches for an explanation the way it always does. Naming things makes them easier to carry. If you can label it, you can pretend you're in control. You're just tired. You need to rest. But when? At night, when you lie down and stare at the ceiling because the hum continues inside your head? The hum of lights, of tasks, of other people's expectations? In the morning, you still get up, splash water on your cheeks, and the cold on your cheeks feels like a brief apology that changes nothing.
Sometimes it seems like tiredness isn't even a state anymore. It's a mask, not a carnival mask, something more like a medical one, a thing you put on to keep going, a way to avoid breathing too deeply and feeling too much. Because if you let yourself feel, then what? You fall apart. You cry by the coffee machine. Ridiculous and somehow terrifying, not because it would be dramatic, but because it would be honest. I start to compare without meaning to, because comparison is its own kind of habit. I used to find joy in small things. Coffee used to be coffee, a jolt, a switch to on. Now it's an attempt to trick the system. as if you hand your body a symbol of warmth, and it looks back at you and says, "I see what you're doing. It won't work." And then there's the face. At some point you learn to put on a smile that looks right, but nothing happens inside. The words come out correct, the inflections too. You can sound engaged, you can nod at the right moments, but the feeling never arrives, and you start wondering what that means. Did I break, or am I conserving? In those moments, reality is dry and uncomfortably honest. Fatigue becomes the norm, not because we're weak, but because the brain figures out how to survive. It reallocates energy like an accountant staring at a stack of bills and being told to pay everything. So it does what it knows how to do. It cuts here and then here. It switches off what it can. Emotional responsiveness goes into the red. The sharpness of sensation is downgraded. The internal response to joy is not top priority. The priority is that you can answer messages, that you can walk back into the common room, that you can say, "Yes, okay, will do." The more there is to demand from you, attention, speed, initiative, perpetual availability, the more your body learns to run on a lower scale, not dead, functional, like a phone in low power mode where the screen dims and the extras shut down, but it still keeps going. And the strangest part is that after a while, it starts to feel normal, not good, just familiar. Liveliness becomes rare, almost like an event, like someone handed you a breath of ordinary air for a minute, and you don't even register at first that you can breathe deeply. Then it's gone again. You don't dramatize it. You keep going because the pressure doesn't shout. It simply doesn't end. So I stand among those voices, holding a cup that smells like the start of the day, even though the day is already over. And I think about how quickly a person can get used to having the inside turned down, as if someone lowered the volume and said, "This is how you won't burn out." I don't want to turn this into a bright ending. I don't want to promise that everything will get easier if you just organize better, or try harder, or fix your sleep. What matters to me is simpler than that. If you sometimes have that frozen smile, that coffee without warmth, those heavy eyelids and trembling fingers for no clear reason, you are not alone. Sometimes fatigue isn't a scream, it's a background hum, a kind of distance, an ambiguous loss you can't point to. The hum of the lights, the hiss of steam, the cold metal under your hand. And you keep moving forward because you know how, because you learned. There's something quietly human in that, not pretty, just true. And I'm still holding this cup as if it might hold me up too. For now, that seems to be what I have.